and welcome back to Wounded on Sixes. Today we're going to be having a very special preview. We're going to be going over the new Space Marine Librarius Conclave Detachment that just came out for the Grotmas releases. We're also going to be reviewing changes to the Balanced Data Slate as they relate to the armies that I play. And we're also going to be going over the changes to the Minotaur Field Manual, the points for the armies that I play. Just for reference, I do only really cover the armies that I play on this channel just because I feel like if I'm going to cover something and give advice on the internet to people, I want to make sure that I actually play with those units and not just play against them. So, one of the armies that I play, although I don't play it very often anymore, I'm actually teaching my son Warhammer using my Ultramarines. So we're going to be going over the Librarius Detachment, as I do have a lot of experience with vanilla Ultramarines. So, the Psychic Disciplines is the detachment rule, and at the start of the battle round, select one of the following Psychic Disciplines until the end of the battle round. That Psychic Discipline is active, and it affects all Adeptus Astartes Psyker units from your army. So we're going to be looking at all of the Librarians out there. I'm not sure if there's any other ones. I'm pretty sure it might just be librarians. I guess this could also, if you have a character that has the psychic keyword, this will also affect them, which could be really cool. I don't know if there's ones that actually do that. Um, I don't know all of the different Space Marine um, characters. I would imagine that there is. I know, um, there was a Librarius Targaryen who would be part of the thing. I'm going to look right now to see if there's any special characters. I don't really see. I'm just looking at my Ultramarines right now. There's nothing for the Ultramarines. I guess Chief Librarian Tigerius would get this. So, that's pretty cool. So I guess if you do have an epic hero or character that has the psychic keyword, again, it looks like it's just going to be librarians. I don't believe Judicars have it. No. Um, Terminator Ancients, no. So it's really just going to be your librarians and characters that have the psychic keyword, which is still really, really good. I mean, you can run a lot of different psychers because you can have the librarian and you can have the librarian and Terminator armor. So you can have up to 6 psycher units plus any characters like Chief Librarian Tigerius for like the Ultramarines or something like that. So 7. You can have 7. Again, some of the buffs don't work on the Terminator models, as we'll see. I think some of the enhancements don't, but for the most part, everything else does. So let's go over what these different things do. And this is very much like the Halos Creed that we saw in AdMech, where you have these units. Instead of just picking 2 units, you get to have any unit that you could fit a Psyker into gets one of these abilities. They all get that ability until the next command phase or the end of the battle round. Um, so this is at the start of the battle round too. This is not in your command phase, so that's pretty cool too because you don't if you're going second, you still get to pick this. I guess because there are a lot of different abilities here that could be good, especially down as we go down. So Biomancy Discipline, add to the move characteristics of models in that unit. That's really good. I mean, librarians can go into a lot of different units. The base librarian can go into which units can it go into? It can go into Assault Intercessors, Desolation Squad, Devastator Squad, Hellblaster Squad, Infernus Squad, Intercessor Squad, Stern Guard Veteran Squad, and a Tactical Squad. So that's a lot of different squads. So thinking of ones that probably want to move faster, for sure. I mean, all of those squads, the Devastator, the Desolation, the Assault Marines could definitely want to move faster. So that's a pretty fast ability. That's a pretty good ability for any one of those Marines, especially if they're on foot. If you're going to kind of sell out for all these librarians. You may not have room for transport, so adding to the move characteristics can be really good. Divination Discipline: each time a model in that unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll or a wound roll of 1. That's really good. Um, you know, if you're taking this detachment rule, you're you're essentially getting kind of like the Iron Storm ability with this here by getting the reroll, a wound roll, and a hit roll of 1. Um, I think it's only um, a hit roll of 1 or a wound roll of 1. So that's going to be all the hit rolls and wound rolls of 1. That's really, really good right there. Really impressed with that one. Next, we got Pyromancer's Discipline. Each time a ranged attack made by a model that targets a unit within 12, improve the armor characteristic of attacks by 1. So that's kind of like the Iron Fist detachment ability. And all of these are kind of like a little bit like they're giving you a little bit of each of the other detachment rules with these. Pyromancer's Discipline could be really good, especially for something like Infernus Marines or just regular intercessors. I mean, being able to improve the AP by 1 is really good the closer that you get. Hellblasters as well could be really, really helped by this with their weapons. So Pyromancy Discipline is going to make a lot of these units with these psychers in them way more killy. Telekinesis Discipline: each time a ranged attack targets that unit, subtract 1 from the strength characteristic of that attack. I mean, that could be really powerful, especially when you're having your Space Marine shot at by light infantry. It just means that they're going to, because most Marines are T4, subtracting any T4 weapon or any strength 4 weapons down to 3 and having them wound on 5s is going to keep them alive a lot longer. I mean, this one is not bad. It's okay. The problem that I have is that none of the squads that your psychers are going to go into are T5. So, subtracting 1 from the characteristic, there's a lot of strength 5 weapons out there. So I guess it's not bad because there is a lot of strength 5 weapons coming at Space Marines. So now they're going to be wounding on a 4 instead of a 5 or instead of a 3. And anyone that would be wounding on 4s is now going to be wounding on 3s, which is really cool. So I guess that could help keep the Space Marine units that you're going to be putting your psychers in alive a little bit longer. It's a little bit different. I actually kind of think it's almost a little bit better than like just straight stealth, which I don't really think with how many rerolls there are out there for the hit roll. Is that great? Usually light infantry doesn't really have a great way to re-roll the wound roll. So being able to subtract 1 from that wound roll essentially by subtracting a strength characteristic from that attack could be really useful. Telepathy Discipline: each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can ignore any and all modifiers to that attack, weapon skill or ballistic skill characteristic, and all modifiers to the hit roll. This essentially can turn off like the play company's negation of their weapon skill, ballistic skill. This is also a way around stealth, which is really good. Really, really good. Anything that can ignore modifiers to the hit roll is fantastic. Take it from me as a Tau player. So, some really good ones here. They are going to definitely help make those, T4 Marine infantry units good. They're going to make them a little bit more killy or a little bit more, give them a little bit more staying power. And the fact that you could pick one of these each turn is really good. I really like that on the Halos Creed, and I think it's going to be even better on a bunch of like power armored Space Marines. So let's go on to the enhancements. Next we have Prescience. Adeptes Astartes Psyker model only, excluding the Terminator, so the Librarian and Terminator armor would not get this. Once per turn, when an enemy unit ends a normal move, advance or fall back within 9 inches of the bearer. That can make a D6 move, or 6 inches if they are taking the Divination Discipline, which is the reroll, hit roll of 1 and reroll of 1. Um, I mean, giving Marines a reactive move is kind of something that they've needed. This could help definitely get a like an assault team, an assault squad up the board a little bit more. It says that you can make a normal move. It doesn't say anything about not being able to get into engagement range. So, like, you know, you could use this. To get some of your more melee units up. You could use this to maybe get some of your shooty infantry behind cover after they've, shot them, made some shots. You might use that unit to re-roll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1. So now you want to move them into cover. That could be really good. So not a bad enhancement. 25 points, maybe a little steep, but a reactive move is really powerful. Next is Celerity. Adept is a Astartes Psyker model only. The bearer's unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. So advanced and charge, super powerful. That's going to be pretty good on like a unit of assault intercessors for sure. And then if the Biomancy discipline is active for your army, you can declare a charge in a turn in which you fell back. I mean, I guess that could be pretty useful too. Fall back in charge would be really good for a unit that's already there. Again, would you be using the add 2 to the move characteristic for a unit that is in combat? Like, let's say all of your units are they're in combat, right? And it's, the beginning of the turn, and you pick the Biomancy Discipline. It's kind of a waste of the add 2 to your move characteristic, because those units probably aren't going to move. Uh, I like the advance in charge, but I don't think you're ever really going to use that second part of this. Obfuscation, 20 points. Adeptus Astartes Psyker model only. Units cannot fire the Overwatch stratagem to shoot at the bearer's unit, and if the telepathy discipline is active for your army, the bearer cannot be a target of attack outside of 18 inches. So basically, you can't have Overwatch fired at your unit, and get you get temporary loan up if you're in the telepathy discipline, where you're having your hit modify when you're basically ignoring weapon skill, ballistic skill, and hit modifiers. I mean, 20 points seems a bit steep to me. I really don't like the 18-inch loan op. I don't think it's just such a small board. I've just not been a big fan of the 18 inches. It's like, if you don't have loan op, then like you just don't have loan op. The 18 inches is just too far, I think, to be super useful. So I don't think, and again, that's for the one though you're going to be, to me, the telepathy discipline is the one that you're going to be using when you're trying to like shoot at things, not trying to hold down an objective, where that's where the 18-inch loan op is the best. So to me, I don't know, it seems a little disjointed, this one. I mean, I guess there'd be a scenario where it would work out really well. I don't think Overwatch is super powerful unless you're going up against something that, something with a lot of flamers, but are you really going to build in an enhancement to prevent one unit from not having Overwatch fired against it? Like, I don't think this is a very good enhancement. Next, Fusillade. Adeptus Astartes Psyker model only. Ranged weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit have anti-monster 4, anti-monster 5, anti-vehicle 5, and sustained hits if the pyromancy discipline is active for your army. So if they're within 12 and improving the armor penetration characteristics, it can be sustained hits 1. Or if you're in the telekinesis, where you're subtracting 1 from the strength of the of attacks coming in at you, you can add 6 to the range characteristics of those weapons if you're in the telekinesis discipline. I think this one's pretty good. I really like this one. I think that this one. I mean, what unit is this best on? Probably Hellblasters. Probably. You know, if you're within 12 and you're supercharging, you're now at -4. It's two attacks each, so you could get, you know, you can get the sustained hits one would be really good. If you're kind of holding back with a unit, this is a unit that's kind of like trying to stay alive in an objective. One that you may want to have the ability to subtract the strength characteristic. So adding 6 to the range could be pretty good. This Fusillade one is not bad. Um, Again, I don't know how much anti-monster 5 and anti-vehicle 5 are. I mean, you're kind of already doing that. Like, it would have been great if this was anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4, because then this would be like stapled to a psyker and a hellblaster unit. And to me, it just being 5, like, it'd be 5 anyway. Like, I just don't know why anti monster 5, anti vehicle 5 even exists, because it's like you're most likely going to be wounding that vehicle on 5s anyway. Um, I guess if you were going to put this on a unit of intercessors, maybe even heavy intercessors, can they even go in the heavy intercessors? I'm not even sure if they can. Let's double check. Oh, that's a lieutenant. They need the librarian here. Excuse me while I look this up. No, we can't put it in heavy intercessors. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense that it'd be anti-monster 5, anti-vehicle 5. I don't know. I think that's kind of silly. If it was 4 plus for each, definitely would be decent. Or I mean 3 up for sure. I mean, that would make this like just totally taking this on some Infernus Marines or some Hellblasters for sure. That it just doesn't make a lot of sense for it to be +5. Next, we're going to move on to the stratagems, and then we have in your command phase, you could target an Adeptus Astartes Psyker unit, and if that unit is within 18 inches of an enemy unit till the start of the next turn, the model is considered pinned, so you subtract 2 from the moves characteristic, 2 from the charge rolls made for it, and if you're in the telepathy discipline is active for your army, it has to take a battle test, subtracting 1 from the result. This one could be really decent. Subtracting 1 from the move and charge roll is basically like it's a -4 to their move. This is really good when you're going up against a melee heavy army, and then being able to also battle shock them if you're in the telepathy discipline is also pretty cool, because now that melee army unit can't use a stratagem against you in the fight phase if they do end up making it. So this is a really good like anti-melee protection right here. So sensory assault for 1 CP, not bad. Armor of Contempt, we all know what this does. This did get a change that we'll go over in the balanced data slate. But essentially this only works for the attack, and then once that attack is over, it no longer works. So it doesn't actually go through the phase anymore like it says here. So Armor of Contempt has been nerfed. So it's just not what it used to be. But it is here. Next, we have Fiery Shield. Fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. 1 infantry or mounted unit from your army that's within 18 inches of 1 or more Adeptus Astartes models, Psyker models that was selected as the targets of 1 or more attacks this turn. Till the end of the phase, each time an attack targets this unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll, and if the Pyromancy discipline is active for your army, weapons in the that target you have the hazardous ability. So it's a lot of hoops for -1 to hit in melee. Could be really good for like a unit uh, of bikes, the Outriders. They did get kind of a buff in the balanced data slate, so it could be good there. But Making the enemy unit take a hazardous test could also be good, especially against one wound models. I think it's, could be really good. But even against three wound models, because the hazardous test would kill them all, so that's pretty good. Um, this is not bad. Again, kind of a lot of a hoops, but if you're like really selling out for this detachment, you're going to have Astartes Psychers everywhere. So this is going to help, help keep some of your infantry alive. Again, this is a really infantry focused Space Marine detachment. In the fight phase, one Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from your army that's within 18 inches of a Psyker model from your army that has not been selected to fight this turn. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the strength characteristics of melee weapons equipped by the model, and if you're in the Biomancy discipline, you add 2. So that's pretty good. Iron Arm is not bad. I'm pretty sure that the Pyromancy one is to add 2 to the move characteristics. So it's like Iron Arm, Iron Foot, or Feather Foot, it should be, or something like that, because it's going to be the one where if you're in the discipline where you're increasing your movement, when you do get in the fight phase, you could be adding 2 to the strength characteristic of your weapon. That could be really good for a big brick of like assault marines. Again, this is a very useful stratagem because you're going to be using it on those big units of assault marines. Assail, your shooting phase, Deputies a Psyker unit. Select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the Psyker, visible to the Psyker, excluding units that have the lone op ability, and roll a d6, adding 1 to the result if the telekinesis discipline is active in your army, and for each 4 up, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound. It's essentially a psychic grenade that gets better if you're taking the telekinesis. So if you're subtracting 1 from the strength characteristic of attacks going into your psyker units, this is pretty good. I mean, you're definitely this is definitely going to be in a turn where like your infantry is at risk of being shot, so you should be within the 18 inches of them, and this will help get a unit, again, very much like the Tau strategy, where it's like whatever is in front of you, you want to make sure is killed and dead. This will help you to basically, you could throw grenades, then do this, and actually you do this farther than you can grenades. But let's say you're in grenade range, you could spend 2 CP and just like kind of mortar wound everything and have like a small unit of intercessors to do a lot of damage to one unit pretty up close. And you're also going to be subtracting the strength from attacks that come into you, which is pretty good too. Next is Persistent Precision in your shooting phase. One Adeptus Astartes Psyker unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the turn, models in that unit have the lethal hits ability, and if you're in the divination discipline is active, you also ignore cover. Just to remind myself, the divination discipline is reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1. So being able to get lethal hits on that is really good. Again, for the most part, I really like all of these stratagems. They are all kind of super useful depending on what you're doing here. Again, you just need to have a lot of librarians. Unfortunately, I only have 1 librarian, so I don't know how much I'm going to be able to use this without proxying some things as librarians. But for the most part, like, this could make a really fun infantry army. Again, the Psychers can't go into a lot of great units, and I don't know if all of these things necessarily make those units it can go into better, like in a competitive sense, but this is definitely fun. A fun little list to kind of make a lot of those infantry units that a lot of people don't take in Marines viable. So yeah, I really I think this is a fun detachment. Again, I don't know how competitive it's going to be. To me, it's kind of like it's definitely more on the fly blown host fun side of detachments than it is the competitive Halos Creed side. Although It's very, very similar. In fact, you get even more buffs because you can fit more psychers than you can have units for the Halos Creed. So this is really, really cool. So now we're going to move on quickly to the balanced data slate changes. So there's been two big core rule changes if you're not aware. The first one is that all of those 3-inch deep strikes have now been turned into six. So no more dropping within three. It's got to be outside of 6 inches. Um, for me personally, in my personal armies, this really does affect the Tau and specifically the retaliation cadre and the 3 inches that they get on the shortened blade. It's a big problem, particularly for the Sunforged that usually get to use that because they will be outside of 6 inch range, so they're not getting the extra melta damage and they're not getting the extra AP. So, where we were being able to prevent people from even getting a save with -5, it's now going to be -4. So your bigger tanks are going to get a save. Yeah, they're getting a save on a 6. Um, is this fair? I mean, I kind of wish that there was going to be some changes to the Tau Ret cadre to maybe make the AP at least to 9 inches, but that's not going to happen. So to me, this isn't the worst change. I mean, for Tau in particular, where I'm the most affected by this change. Um, it's not too bad because we still get to shoot and scoot afterwards, so we'll still get where we need to go. It's just that will we destroy what we needed to destroy because now we're out of those buff ranges. Um, but this is going to hurt a lot of other armies and maybe make it a little bit easier. Um, I think you're also still not going to be able to charge if you do this, so a lot of those stratagems and abilities will make it so that you can't charge. So I don't think this changes anything on the charging front either. So this really hurts things like Inceptors and those units on the Imperial Guard that like to drop in within three. Big spammy OC units are tough. And then again, there's also the change to Armor Contempt and other ones out there, but Armor Contempt is the big one. And basically, what it says is once the attack is done, the ability no longer lasts. So you no longer get to protect a unit the entire turn with Armor of Contempt. Again, I don't play my Marines a lot, and I don't really have a lot of other like worsening the armor pen in terms of for the rest of the phase. So that doesn't affect me too much there, but this is going to hurt a lot of Marine type armies. I believe also that like Chaos Space Marines have a similar ability as well. So it's definitely going to make those units not as tanky, not as survivable. But yeah, Armor Contempt is it's been a real issue, especially in the edition where AP and cover are, AP's hard to come by, and it seems and covers everywhere. And as I've seen things happen, I think GW has realized that they decrease the AP too much while making the cover rules so lax that it's really hurt a lot of armies. And if you've noticed, a lot of the changes that they've been making is adding AP to weapons and worsening the armor pen on things like Armor of Contempt, I think is another step in the right direction there. So moving along here, we're just gonna look at changes to factions that I play. I could be here all day going all through them. Looking at the AdMech, these are all changes that were here last time. Nothing new has changed here, so I don't believe there's anything else we need to discuss in terms of that. Again, like I said, I could go over these changes, all of these, but I don't play all these armies, so I'm only going to go over the armies that I do play. Um, let's see. So Death Guard did have two changes. So the Annihilator keyword, each time a ranged attack is allocated to a monster or vehicle unit, we can re-roll the damage roll. That's a buff for sure. This is going to make Predator Annihilators is that much better, being able to re-roll their D6 plus 1 damage roll. The real big ability right here is Mortarion being able to deep strike. As we'll see, his points did not go up, but he's going to be able to deep strike. So this is really fun because now, um, we don't have to worry about him getting shot off the board turn one. We can drop him in. We could rapid ingress him. There's just a ton of possibilities. This is going to make Mortarion like an absolute must, and I think it also goes and hurts the new detachment that they put out, because that detachment just doesn't work with Mortarion, and now they're like making Mortarion better by giving him deep strike. So, oh man, that is such a fantastic change, and opens up a lot of possibilities for Mortarion to do just that much more damage. Especially since they nerfed indirect, keeping him back with like a ball of Plague Burst Crawlers just doesn't work anymore. So now you can get out there, and I think Mortarion is great when you just kind of go out there and just bully him with it, bully other armies with his 16 wounds and his 2 up, 4 up, 5 up feel no pain. It's just awesome. So yeah, I love that. I love that Mortarion can just deep strike out of nowhere. Really cool change. So no change to AdMac, very small changes to to Death Guard. Moving over to Space Marines again, another army that I do play. Oath of Moment did change, for so essentially for not for Codex compliant armies, so not Black Templar, Blood Angels, Death Dark Angels, Death Watchers, Space Wolves. Now the Oath of Moment rule can also is add a wound roll, add one to the wound roll. That is awesome. That is really really good. Um, Especially if you play something like Ultramarines, because there was changes to Gilliman that's going to make this really really good. But essentially, um, Codex compliant Space Marines now have a better Oath of Moment rule where they're re-rolling the hit rolls on re-rolling the hit rolls and adding one to the rune roll, so making it more likely that that Oath of Moment target is going to die. Um, for the Fire Discipline enhancement, you not only they changed the way this works. They got rid of the crits on fives. So I think they nerfed this. This I believe is a nerf here, um, because I believe that the Fire Discipline enhancement allowed you to crit on fives, and this doesn't look like it allows you to crit on fives. This says that you can re-roll advance rolls made for that unit in the Devastator Doctrine. I mean, you could advance and shoot, yes, so you can re-roll in your advance rolls, but I definitely think this is a nerf to the Fire Discipline. Yes, this is a change, because it used to be crits on fives, so there's no longer crits on fives, and I don't believe the points got changed. We could definitely look at this later, when we go over the points. But yeah, this is a nerf to the Fire Discipline. It's really disappointing. This definitely makes things like Hellblasters, where I use this a lot, way worse. Not great. Not happy about that. Captain and Gravis armor. His Mastercrafted Heavy Bolter went up to 3 damage. Heavy Intercessors got a buff. Their Heavy Bolt Rifle went to 2 damage. Their Heavy Bolter is plus, the ballistic skill went up, so that's good. So now the Heavy Bolt Rifle and the Heavy Bolter are kind of all in line, except the Heavy Bolter now has sustained hits 1. Inferno Squad, their blasters got -1 AP. Again, that will help with the new detachment that we just went over, because there's a way, within 12, you can, if you have a Psyker in here now, they're Strength 5, AP 2. That's pretty good. Um, Also, Meteoric Descent, this got changed. It's now in your movement phase, so no more doing this via rapid ingress is essentially what that means, and you're also the 6 inches. So, Inceptors definitely took a hit here. I do believe that their points did go down. Infernus Squad, Incendiary Terror ability. Um, basically, they take a battle shock test, but now you're actually subtracting one from the test. Not bad. Definitely between this and the AP and the other things you can do from the attachment and Furnace Squad, definitely a little bit better. Intercessor Squad, each time this unit is selected to shoot, it can use this ability. If it does, add 2 to the attacks characteristic of both rifles equipped by models in this unit. You can select one enemy unit as the target of this attack. So can't split fire, but yeah, this is good for intercessors. I mean, adding 2 to their attacks characteristics will be quite helpful to intercessors because um, as it stands right now, their bolt rifles are getting only 2 attacks, so they can go up to 4 attacks, strength 4, -1, 1 damage, and they have assault and heavy. I mean, that's a decent improvement over what they were doing prior to that. So definitely pretty cool. Iron Father Ferris, and this is a new ability on top of the ability they have right now. I believe their ability right now is the sticky objective. So, I mean, this is awesome because you're just getting this as adding to the attacks. Iron Father Ferios. Again, I don't play that version of Marines here. You could go ahead and look these up for yourself. Again, I'm only going to speak about things that I know. Outrider Squad, Thunderous Impact. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, if that unit made a charge move, improve the strength and damage characteristics of models in that unit. This is for the Outrider Squad. So they're going to they're adding this to their sheet, right? Oh no, they're deleting the turbo boost ability. So the turbo boost ability where they're getting to move 6, that's just going away altogether, and they're getting +1 strength, +1 damage when they charge, which is pretty good. I mean, that's strength 5 chain swords and damage 2. This definitely makes Outrider squads way more killy, especially in combat. They already moved so damn fast, and so in something like Gladius, you really didn't need the advanced move 6. But now those are Astartes chainswords, 4 attacks, strength 5, -1, 2 damage. Um, that's pretty good. That's a decent attack profile, and as we continue to see, you know, I think GW is realizing that some of the things that they had were um, just, Space Marines just couldn't kill things. These Outrider squads are now kind of dangerous. They can move fast, they can hit hard, they get a lot of wounds. That's pretty good. Next, we have the Predator Annihilator, and we're going to change the Annihilator ability to each time an attack is made by this model to a monster or vehicle, reroll the damage, roll of 1. That's kind of like the changes that they made to the Annihilator for Death Guard. Essentially, what it was you can reroll a damage roll of 1. This is just the damage roll. So, yeah, this is a straight buff. This is a straight buff from what it was before. A damage roll of 1. Um, just too many hoops to jump through. Reaver Squad, basically Battle Shock, but they also get um, subtracting a test from 1, and then Terror Troops. While you're in 3, subtract 1 from the objective control. So basically, kind of making these like Sicarian infiltrators. Repulsor transport got changed. It looks like that didn't change, but the repulsor executioner transport section definitely changed. I think it got smaller. So they can take less. So here we go. Roberto Gittleman, author of the Codex. At the start of the phase, you get to choose two command phase abilities now. That's really cool. That's awesome because his abilities aren't that great to begin with. I mean, they're cool. The big one is Master of Battle, where you get to select another Oath of Moment, and then if the first Oath of Moment dies, you get to start shooting at that second Oath of Moment. That's really good because Oath of Moment got better for Codex compliant chapters, so now we're going to be able to re-roll the hit roll and add one to the wound roll, which is really good. If you take the first company detachment, you're now having to re-roll the wound roll as well. So you could be re-rolling the hit roll, re-rolling the wound roll for two models, and adding one to wound on that wound roll as well. Very, very powerful. As we'll see, Rabute Gilliman is going to take some price hikes here. The other one is essentially being able to add one to the objective control, which is really cool for Gilliman. And then the third and final one is being able to reduce all CP spent within 12 inches of Gilliman. So you can have two of those actives. You're pretty much always going to have choose the second Oath of Moment. So then it's like, which one is the most? Are you trying to hold stuff down, or are you trying to kill stuff? So pretty good changes overall for Gilliman. Sternguard squad get to re-roll the wound roll. That's a buff on them. And yeah, that's about it. And then this is the biggest disappointment to me as of all is that there are just no changes to Tau. None. GW apparently thinks Tau is perfect. There have been no updates, no changes. Just boring. Boring, boring stuff. So, and that pretty much runs us out again. I encourage you to take a look at this data slate. We're going to go over the Minotaur field manual real quick, as this video is taking a long time to finish. So we're just going to look at the armies that we play. We're going to look at AdMech. One unit went down. Castellan robots. Two models went down 10. Four models went down 20. I think that's great because I really like the Castellan robots. I kind of wish they would have went down to 170 each, but I guess beggars can't be choosers. It's actually almost the same, pretty much almost the same if they would have went down to 170. So essentially, the two went down to 170 if you take two of them. So actually no, yeah, probably if it would have been 170, I would have been way happier. Only getting 20 points off for four. It would have been great if we got 40 points off for four. You're bringing more. 320 feels way better. 360 though, better than 380 or 390. So we'll definitely take it. I think that no other changes here. Point changes were fairly light for most of my armies that I follow. Astra Militarum took a bunch of points increases. Templar, their repulsor and executioner went down. I think some of that has to do with the transport changes. Blood Angels took some hikes. Chaos Demons, very little change. All the War Dogs for Chaos Knights went down, except for the ones that went down before, like the Carnivore and the War Dog Brigands. So the Executioner, Huntsman, again, I don't have many of these, but, pretty cool. Chaos Space Marines, Bikers went down. Johnson went up 30 points for you Death Angel players, Dark Angel players. As we see here, Death Guard, no changes. Which is good, I guess. I was really nervous that we were going to see a hike in the infantry because of the new detachment roll, and we didn't. So that's really cool. Also, Mortarion didn't go up, even though he gets deep strike. So 300 points for our deep striking Mortarion. I'm there for it. I think Death Guard are going to be very competitive. The Play Company going to be very competitive the next 3 months without any changes here. They're already doing really well in the competitive scene. Death Watch. Drakari took some points buffs, Scourges, Void Raven Bomber. You know, you guys can thank Scary for that. Gene Stealers, stuff went up. They're winning a lot. Nemesis Dread Knights went up just a little bit. Everybody's raving about this Grey Knights Codex. I don't know. Not the biggest fan of it. Imperial Knights. I just want to make I do run some Warglaives in my AdMech list, and they went down 10 points. So between that and the robots, I feel like I got 40 points on a couple of my AdMech lists. So that's really cool. Um, Leagues of Votan saw a little bit. Necrons, all their Catans continue to go up. Good for them. Rates come down a little bit. Warriors, Destroyers, stuff like that. Definitely some changes going on in the Necron Codex. Orcs just saw some increases to their war bosses. Space Marines, we had some changes here. So the heavy intercessors went up 15 points. They definitely got better. Are they worth 15 points better? I don't know. I mean, maybe. Same thing with the Inferno Squad. Definitely got better. But did they need a points hike? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think so. Inceptors went down 10 points. Again, definitely not as good as before with that 6-inch deep strike. Calgar went up 15 points. I'm surprised it took this long. Marne's Calgar is such a beast. Reaver squads went up. I don't know. Their buffs weren't that great, were they? Scout squad, Sternguard squad, they went up. Scout squad's mostly because everybody's taking Scout squads. And Gilliman went up because of that. 60 points seems a bit steep. But, I mean, I wasn't really even taking him before at what he was prior to this. So, you know, when he was 285. So, 345. I guess we'll have to see. He could be really good in a first company detachment. Space Wolves, things going up. Good. Don't like Space Wolves. And then we have this. It's just, the only thing that went up, the only point change was a Tiger Shark, which I don't have. There's no changes to Tau. Nothing. No points changes, no rules changes, nothing. What this kind of tells me as the last army that I collect that hasn't had a Grotmus detachment is that this detachment is going to be extremely uneventful. I think we're going to be massively disappointed just because I was if there was a change to something here, like if the Crute went up a little bit, I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe they're going to give Crute for the greater good. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. Not even on um, the crisis suits. Like nothing changed. I mean, yes, the crisis suits got a little bit worse with the 6-inch deep strike being taken away, just in that one detachment. But you know, they're being played everywhere. But they're not winning a ton. I mean, Tau has been like a perennial, like 47% win rate almost the entire 10th edition. If you look at it, like in the aggregate, it's just been, you know, I guess no change is good change because I do like the way Tau play. Um, Most of the changes that have taken place in this data slate aren't going to affect them besides the change to shorten blades. So, you know, it'd be nice to see it pimp back up. I think that like if I had my druthers, breacher teams would go down. I just don't know if they're worth 100 points because they need so much to go with them to make them effective. Like you need a devilfish, you need a Fireblade. It's just such an investment in them. I kind of was hoping they'd go down. I was kind of hoping that the Riptides would go down too. I know everybody takes them, but I think 190 is just a tad too high for what they do. Um, but yeah, other than that, like I guess I'm fine with the changes. So this has been a really long video, so I'm going to end it here as I'm out of armies and things to share with you. Let me know what you think about the video, the balanced data slate, the changes to the points, the new Space Marine detachment. Go ahead, like and subscribe for more. Go ahead and leave a comment down there for the algorithm to see that people are enjoying these videos. And we'll see you next time on Wounded on Sixes.